Long ago, in a land to the east, a king driven mad by the soul he had recently discovered, tucked far below the land in fire, he awoke it from its slumber. It sought to carry out what it had begun long ago, and so began the hunt. Those marked with the curse were gathered from all over the land and brought to this forsaken hill, this land of poison and darkness, locked away in stone huts and forced to rot away as time took its toll. Those were the lucky ones. The ones not so fortunate were brought to the castle, to purgatory, where they were sentenced to suffer forever, constantly trampled over and over again simply because of what they were. The skeleton lords ruled this land, administering cruel justice to their immortal prisoners. The land sunk into the landscape as time passed, and the difference between prisoner and prison guard faded. In this day and age, all difference has all but faded away. Alright, so we're going to be recording this episode in my normal voice, and I'd really like to hear your feedback on that. Main reason is I don't feel like doing the British accent, if you can call it that today, and that whole thing kind of started as practicing for a play that I was going to be in, and it just kind of stuck with the different lore videos I was doing. So, I try to put it in the comments so no one thought that that was my real voice, but I think it ended up getting confused anyways. But I'd like to hear your feedback on which voice you find more interesting or fun to listen to, because that's really what the series is meant for. That's what I enjoy doing, is making something that's fun to listen to for you guys that also conveys an awesome story, and fleshes out the stories and worlds that interest me. So please leave a comment on which voice you'd prefer me to do my videos in, or whether or not you'd care. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. First things first, let's talk about kind of the strategy of this place, and then we can get into my thoughts on the lore and why I told the story I did. So, what I like to do in this place is I like to just run through all of it right to the Undead Lockaway key, then double back. So if you don't know where the Undead Lockaway key is, basically you run all the way through the forest. There'll be a locked door. It says need Undead Lockaway key. You run across the bridge and you take the low road, not the high road, until there's kind of this cave. And you kill the enemies outside the cave and inside the cave, because there's a couple ones that want to ambush you. The Undead Lockaway key is in there. Then you double back to the Undead Lockaway, save at the bonfire. One really easy way to take down these bosses is to buy Resonant Soul. If you have enough faith and intelligence, it takes 10 intelligence and 18 faith to use the basic Resonant Soul. If you've killed Lycia and you have enough to use her bell, that makes the fight almost like a cakewalk. But with what I have right now, basically it's going to take 2 hits and anything to kill the skeletons that throw spells at you, the bosses, and it's going to take 3 hits and a sword swing or whatever have you to kill the melee one. And then afterwards, all the skeletons, unless they're holding their shields up or you dink their shields or something like that, they're only going to take 1 spell to take down. So maybe bring, 1 amber herb or something, and you should be good. That's the way that I handle this area. I think it's really easy. If you want some valuable items, there's Rickard's Rapier, and that's if you kind of jump off. If you look at where I am right now, if you go down into the building, out the edge, and you run off to that Pharaoh's Lockstone, even if you miss it, you can get Rickard's Rapier. Basically what I did before I got to this tower right here. I didn't actually get the Rapier because I'm not going to use it, but other than that, there's not really many items of use, in my opinion. Yeah. Pharaoh's Lockstone's nice, but other than that, there's nothing. It's probably an Estus Flask shard I'm not thinking about, or something like that. But anyways, that's that. So why did I say what I did? Why do I think, why did I tell the story I did? What I think is, we know there's the hunt, and we know that the old Iron King has been taking undead and bringing them to Huntsman's Copse, and putting in these undead lockaways and in purgatory. And we know that the skeleton lords kind of run this whole place. They're like the internment camp, you know, slave masters, basically. And if you didn't know that, that's one thing, is the skeleton lords are, that's what they're, this is their area, this is what they run. I don't think that the old Iron King did that of his own volition. I think that Gwyn's soul is, because, you know, I think the old Iron King, he's not Gwyn. He found Gwyn's soul underneath the earth, and, you know, that's why they call him Icarus Earth now. Cat does. And so I don't think that he's doing it of his own volition. I think that when he found Gwyn's soul is now taking out what it was doing originally, which was taking all the undead and putting them in the undead asylum. And now it's the old Iron King who has Gwyn's soul putting all the undead in the undead purgatory and torturing them forever. Another thing that could be happening, this is just speculation at this point, guys, but is, since the old Iron King is most likely the Prince of Elkin, perhaps the Princess of Ven, who I believe is the Lost Sinner, and there's a lot of reasons to go into that I talked about in the first episode, that maybe her sin's tied to the undead in some way, and now the old Iron King is just absolutely, has just this extreme hatred for the undead, and that's why he wants to take them to the undead purgatory and torture them forever and ever. But you know, it's a pretty gruesome area if you know, like, what's going on. You know, you fight the chariot and you're like, oh, there's undead, this is nice, I got ads on the boss. But you don't realize that, you know, they're being trampled over and over again too. I mean, you don't even have to fight them really, you just run right to the guy bringing them back to life eternally and kill him, and then the chariot will do the rest. But it's an amazing area. I think it's probably, you know, a lot of players' favorite area in the game, just because of the story and the atmosphere it brings. The boss is a little easy, you know, if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, I guess those wheel skeletons are just, the massive amount of enemies could overcome you if you just rush in there and kill the skeletons really easy. You're like, wow, that was easy, and then, you know, they spawn an entire army, and you're like, oh, crap. One thing to note is, although the skeleton lords, they're the people who ran this place, it does say that eventually the curse overcame them, which is why they're skeletons. Is they're undead now too, so whether or not they still rule the place, or whether they're just now undead with the rest, who knows. All I know is the executioner's chariot is a window to its master's soul, so I'm assuming the master is going to be the old Iron King, which is kind of why I'm wondering, you know, he created this horrendous mad steed. What was going on with him? Did he find Gwyn's Lord Soul and that's what drove him mad? Or, because, you know, if he found Gwyn's Lord Soul and then he just ended up becoming that demon that we find, I forget the demon's name, but you know, when you fight the old Iron King who's got Gwyn's soul, yeah. Or is the executioner's chariot, is that talking about the skeleton on top? You know, why is that skeleton there? Did he succumb to the curse of the undead eventually, or was he always there? I'm assuming he's the same as the skeleton lords, that he succumbed to that curse, and now he's screwed with everyone else in this land, and everyone's undead except for Creighton, I think. maybe he's undead too. But one interesting thing is this area is actually based on a real life location, and you can kind of just go to the wiki to find that out, but it's based on the Hotel del Salto. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That beginning area where you come into that building, that's the area that's based on. Interesting note, I'll link the wiki article in the below, so you guys can read that as well. Maybe take a look at the pictures, see what you think. Definitely not as dark, for sure. But yeah, that's this area in a nutshell. Alright, next time we're going to be taking on the Covetous Demon, having some fun, frolicking around in the poison fields of Harvest Valley, and just see what we come across. Hopefully the lore is really interesting and we have a lot of fun. One thing that would help me out is I started doing this British accent as kind of a fun way to practice for a play that I was actually going to be in, and it just kind of stuck with my lore videos. And I've tried not to, make it seem like this is actually what I sound like. But I would really like your input, whether, this is ridiculous and you'd rather me just talk normally for the rest of the videos, or whether this is far more entertaining and fun for you as well as for me. Sometimes I like doing this, sometimes I don't. It would be awesome to hear your opinion on that. I try to put fake accent in the description as much as possible so people don't actually think that I talk like I am right now, but now you guys kind of have heard my normal voice and this voice, so now you know both, and you can kind of decide which one's more fun for you to listen to, because that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to make some content that's fun to listen to, fun to kind of have fun with, and then gets an awesome story across. That's what this is all about, is getting stories that I find amazing across to you guys. Anyway, so yes, please rate the video, leave me a comment if you like my accent or if you don't like it. Feedback would be very, very much appreciated. Anyways, thank you so much, and I will see you guys again next time.